Yo, welcome back to another episode of Son of a Preacher Man. I am your host, the Soap Man. Short episode for you today. Let's jump right off into it. Let me say this first. Like a lot of people on this earth, the story of David is my most favorite story ever. It's a real life Game of Thrones with, the standard heroes and villains, but also the plots, the backstabbing, the throat cutting, and a little dash of fantasy in there with things like giants. And yes, what would be a fantasy film without sorcery and witchcraft? So I've separated this story into an episode all unto itself. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Son of a Preacher Man proudly presents the first book of Samuel, part 12, The Witch of Endor. Now, folks, let me just tell you, this is about the most creepiest, absolute spookiest story in the Bible, or very close to it. We start off in 1 Samuel chapter 25. We going back actually to 1 Samuel chapter 25. And it says, "And Samuel died, and all the Israelites were gathered together and lamented him and buried him in his house at Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran." Now, I'm not going to read all of this because the point I'm trying to get across to you is that Samuel, the last judge of Israel, the powerful prophet who anointed Saul to be the first king of Israel, has died. And I'm going to show you why I think that's significant. In 1 Samuel chapter 28, verses 1 through 6, it says, "And it came to pass in those days, when Samuel died, that the Philistines gathered their armies together for warfare to fight with Israel. And Achish said to David, Know thou assuredly that thou shalt go out with me to battle, thou and thy men. And David said to Achish, Surely thou shalt know what thy servant can do. And Achish said to David, Therefore will I make thee keeper of mine head forever. Now Samuel was dead." Okay, you following me here? Samuel is dead. Here, let me catch you up from last episode. Okay, so in the last episode, David had allied himself with the enemies of the children of Israel, the Philistines. He's living with King Achish, the king of Gath, a Philistine. And Samuel dies. So the Philistines gather themselves together for war against Israel. Achish, one of the kings of the 5 Philistine cities, tells David, who's living in his land, "Surely you're going to war with me," meaning against King Saul and the Israelites. David says, "I'm going to show you what I'm made of. I'll show you what I can do." And so that's where we're at. That's what I just read to you. But what I want you to realize is the Philistines have come out to war against Israel because Samuel died. As a result of Samuel dying, the Philistines now feel emboldened. Let me read this again. It says, let me go back. It says, "And it came to pass in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies together for warfare to fight with Israel. And Achish said to David, Know thou assuredly that thou shalt go out with me to battle, thou and thy men. And David said to Achish, surely thou shalt know what thy servant can do. And Achish said to David, therefore will I make thee keeper of mine head forever. David has King Achish's favor. King Achish likes David a lot. He says, I will make thee keeper of mine head forever. You'll be my personal bodyguard forever. It says, now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had lamented him and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. And Saul had put away those that had familiar spirits and the wizards out of the land. And the Philistines gathered themselves together and came and pitched in Shunem. And Saul gathered all Israel together, and they pitched in Gilboa. And when Saul, I have this in big bold red print for a reason. And when Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. So, why are the Philistines coming out now that Samuel has died? You may say, so man, explain yourself. Why are the Philistines coming out now that Samuel has died? Well, that's simple. Because they're afraid of Samuel. That's why. Let's go all the way back to 1 Samuel chapter 7, verses 10 through 17. This is right before Samuel anointed Saul as the first king of Israel. Pay attention, please. It says, and Samuel was offering up the burnt offering. It says, and as Samuel was offering up the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to battle against Israel. But the Lord thundered with a great thunder on that day upon the Philistines and discomfited them. And they were smitten before Israel. And the men of Israel went out of Mizpah and pursued the Philistines and smote them until they came under Bethkar. Then Samuel took a stone and set it between Mizpah and Shen, and called the name of it Ebenezer, saying, hitherto hath the Lord helped us. So the Philistines were subdued, and they came no more into the coast of Israel. And the hand of the Lord was against the Philistines all the days of Samuel. And I have that in big, bold, red print for a reason. So you see, the last time the Philistines tangled with Samuel, it went so badly for them that they didn't really come back for war after that. The Philistines were afraid of Samuel. And so, all the days that Samuel was alive, I'm not saying they didn't come out and harass the Israelites. I'm not saying they didn't try the Israelites, but they were hesitant. And they were hesitant because of fear of Samuel, because of the last time they tangled with Israel and Samuel. Now Samuel is dead, and the Philistines, they now feel emboldened. They've been testing this new king, King Saul, since he's been crowned, but they're afraid of Samuel. Now that obstacle is out of the way, and they feel emboldened, so they come out. And they don't just come out for a battle or a skirmish like before, because Saul has been successful in those areas while Samuel was yet alive. But now that Samuel is dead, the Philistines come out with a force for extermination. And the Bible says, it says, and when Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. He's so afraid, folks, because what Saul understands is he's looking at the army that the Philistines have brought out. He's looking at the weaponry that they've brought out. He's looking at the resources that they've brought out. And what he realizes is they've come out with the intention of staying and fighting for a long time. These boys mean to kill me. That's what he realizes when he looks out and sees this great host that the Philistines have put together. So it says, let's go back. It says that hold on, bear with me. It says, then Saul said unto his servants, seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit. That means someone who can talk to the dead. It says, then said Saul unto his servants. What I was trying to find was where it said, here it is here, I just found it. It says, now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had lamented him and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. And Saul had put away those that had familiar spirits and wizards out of the land. So Saul had put all the practitioners of witchcraft, he had put them out of the land, probably on Samuel's account. Now he's got this great Philistine host at his door, and he's desperate. We've seen Saul in this situation before. Remember, 2 years into Saul's reign, the Philistines came out, and Samuel was supposed to show up in Saul's city at a particular day. And when Samuel didn't show up, Saul performed a sacrifice that was not within his authority to perform. He choked, he cracked under pressure. Now Saul is once again under pressure. He's old and he's about to choke and crack again. It says, then Saul said unto his servants, seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servants said to him, behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor. And Saul disguised himself and put on other raiment. And he went, and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night. And he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up, whom I shall name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, behold, thou knows what Saul hath done, how he hath cut off those that hath familiar spirits, and the wizards out of the land. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life, to cause me to die? And Saul sware to her by the Lord, saying, as the Lord liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing. Then said the woman, whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, bring me up Samuel. Now I want you to digest with me what just happened. King Saul has put all practitioners of witchcraft out of the land. Now he's telling his men to go find me someone who can talk to the dead. There's a woman in Endor. And what's significant about that is, I'm going to show you in a second exactly where Endor is. But he asked this lady to communicate with the dead for him, for who he tells her to. And initially this woman is like, you know the law that King Saul has issued. She says, what are you trying to get me killed? What I'm trying to get you to understand is she does not realize this is King Saul. King Saul is not dressed as a king. He's in disguise. He says, I promise no one will know this thing. She says, who do you want me to bring up? He says, Samuel, who has recently died. This is the tragedy of King Saul. 1 Samuel chapter 28, verses 12 through 18 reads, and when the woman saw Samuel, she cried. I'm going to unpack this, okay, for clarity's sake. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. And the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. And he said unto her, What form is he of? And she said, An old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself. And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me, meaning disturbed me, to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God is departed from me, and answered me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known unto me what I shall do. Then said Samuel, and I have this in big, bold, red print, because it is again a devastating rebuke and rejection of King Saul. It says, Then said Samuel, Wherefore then dost thou ask me, seeing the Lord is departed from thee, and is become thine enemy? And the Lord hath done to him as he spake by me. For the Lord hath rent the kingdom out of thine hand, and given it to thy neighbor, even to David, because thou obeyedest not the voice of the Lord, nor executedest his fierce wrath upon Amalek. Therefore hath the Lord done this thing unto thee this day. The thing that make what Samuel just said to Saul so bad is that he already told him that. It took for Samuel to tell this man while he was living, that was once, and also after he died, that was twice. It took for Samuel to come back from the dead as a ghost to tell this man what he already told him while he was among the living. Let me read this one more time, just what Samuel says to him. He says, Saul says to him, let me go back. Samuel says to Saul, it says, And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, I'm sore afraid, for the Philistines make war against me, and God is departed from me. And he answered me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. So I've called you up so you can help me. So then Samuel replies, Why did you call me up? You've got your answer. If God ain't answering you and the Philistines is at your door, it's because that means your goose is cooked. Remember I told you that back when you ripped my cloak? And I told you, so will God rip the kingdom from you and give it to another? And he even names the other person that God is going to give the kingdom to, David. And it's not like King Saul doesn't already know this, but he needed Samuel to come back from the dead to remind him. So this is what I wanted to show you. This is what I wanted to show you. Here's a map, okay? You see my arrow? Marcus, darling. You see this arrow here in the middle of the screen? So, Saul is here at Gibeah. The Philistines, they gather and they go through Aphek and they end up here at Shunem. That's what they take their position at. That's where the majority of the Philistine army is. That's where David and King Achish are. Okay? They're here at Shunem. So King Saul marches his army from Gibeah to Jezreel, just opposite the Philistines. Okay? They're trying to prevent them from coming into their backyard. This is the northern kingdom up here of Israel. Okay? But so you know, The Philistines are red. They're positioned here at Shunem. And Saul and his army are here at Jezreel. Now, where is Endor? Can you see Endor here on the map? Because Saul is going to travel from Jezreel to Endor to see this witch, to bring Samuel up, to tell him to stick a fork in himself. And Endor just happens to be directly behind enemy territory. What I want you to see is the risk that King Saul took. Here's Jezreel. King Saul and his army here at Jezreel. Here's a river. Opposite the army of Israel is the Philistines here at Shunem, and behind Shunem is Endor. So King Saul had to travel in disguise around and behind the Philistine army at great risk to his life to disobey God and go visit this witch who does her job. This woman, whoever she is about the spookiest person in the Bible. Because King Saul comes to her and asks her to talk to a dead man, to bring him up. And though hesitant, though reluctant, she does just that. And she doesn't just bring up anybody. She brings up one of the greatest prophets in the Bible, Samuel, the last judge of Israel. She brings up his ghost from the dead. And this is what's so significant about this story. For one, how often does that happen? It's just at its base spooky. Two, it proves that there is life after death. Because when she brings up Samuel, Samuel seems to be with it. He seems to be fully aware of what's going on, who's in the room. And here's the thing. The woman sees Samuel before Saul does, and she screams. Because when she sees Samuel, she realizes that her client, that this mysterious client that has come to her is indeed King Saul himself. The one who passed the law that got rid of all the wizards and fortune tellers and those who had familiar spirits, such as her. So she screams, she says, you've deceived me. Saul says, what did you see? Meaning Saul hasn't seen what she's seen. She says, angels ascending from the earth, she says. Mark her words carefully. Angels ascending, coming up from the earth. And Saul says, what form is it? And she says, a man wearing a mantle. So Saul perceives this to be Samuel. He says, jackpot. That's exactly who I was looking for. The king bows himself. The Bible says, stoops himself to the floor. But Samuel ain't got no good news for King Saul. And he doesn't tell him what Saul wants to hear. Saul's looking for help. And Samuel tells him, help is fleeting, okay? Help then been left. Ain't no help coming for you. And you woke me up from the dead to tell you what I already told you while I was living. I wasn't joking, boy, I don't play. What you thought this was, Saul? I don't play. He says, I told you this was going to happen, and now it's happening. and your kingdom's gonna be given over to David. The same mouse that's been eluding you, Jerry, for the past decade. Why do you think that was? You thought that was a coincidence? That he was narrowly escaping your grasp all the time? No. God was saving him from you. And now you're doomed. 1 Samuel chapter 28, 19 through 25 reads, moreover, the Lord also will, this is Samuel, this is also what he continues to say to Saul. He says, moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines. And I have in big bold red letters, he says, and tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me. Heavy, heavy, heavy. But real talk, folks, and I'm not trying to be facetious, but if I was King Saul, as gut-wrenching and heart-ripping as Samuel's words were, the silver lining out of all that is that Samuel said, you and your sons will be with me. And real talk, if I was King Saul, that would have given me a small bit of comfort. Anywho, it says, then Saul fell straightway all along the earth and was sore afraid because of the words of Samuel, and there was no strength in him. And I got that in big, bold, red print for a reason. Let me read that to you again. Y'all think this stuff ain't important? Okay? I got something in big, bold, red print. It's because it's important. It says, then after Samuel's ghost got through talking to Saul, it says, then this is what it took. This is what I'm trying to get over to y'all. This is what it took for Saul to get it. All that time Saul was chasing David, trying to kill him, it was because he was in denial. Saul has been in denial up until this point. That's why I'm taking the time to emphasize this to you. You know what denial is. You didn't read about it. Maybe you know somebody who's in it. But even though Samuel told Saul this when he was living, Saul was in denial. That's why he continued to hunt and chase and pursue David. Because he was in denial. If he wasn't in denial, he'd have just took his medicine in. Remember the prophet Eli, the high priest Eli? He was the high priest right before Samuel. And Samuel had prophesied a similar doom and gloom scenario for Eli. Now, what did Eli do? Eli is the quintessential example of what you do when the Lord say, you're rejected. Your time's up. I'm going to replace you. I'm mad at you. I'm disappointed at you. And you got to go. This is what Eli said. Eli said, the Lord do as he will. Hey, the Lord do what pleaseth him. Eli wasn't saying he don't care. Eli knew it wasn't nothing he can do. Eli was not in denial. He swallowed that pill. Eli said, hey, The Lord gonna do what he gonna do. He do what pleaseth him. What can I do? Not Saul. Saul said, no, it can't be. I'm the king. Remember in not the Lord of the Rings, remember in the movie The Hobbit, where Thorin Oakenshield goes crazy over all that gold, and he says to either Balin or Dwalin, he said, it's called the king's jewel. Am I not the king? Saul is in denial. All this time he said to himself, there's got to be something I can do. There's got to be something I can do to reverse this, to make up for it. This can't be. But after Samuel comes back from the dead, and this is what it takes for Saul to get it. Let me start. We done. This is the last slide. So let me start back from the top. It says, moreover, this is Samuel talking to Saul. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines. So he's saying not just you, but your troops too, your army, all of y'all are about to get the business today. He says, moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines. And tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me. The Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines, meaning the army. It says, then Saul fell straightway all along the earth, and was sore afraid because of the words of Samuel, and there was no strength in him. For he had eaten no bread all the day, nor all the night. And the woman came unto Saul, and saw that he was sore troubled, and said unto him, she saw that he was sore troubled, and said unto him, behold, thine handmaid hath obeyed thy voice, and I have put my life in my hand, and have hearkened unto thy words which thou spakest unto me. Now therefore, I pray thee, hearken thou also unto the voice of thine handmaid, and let me set a morsel of bread before thee, and eat, that thou mayest have strength when thou goest on thy way. But he refused, meaning Saul. Saul refused, and said, I will not eat. It's not funny. Well, what's funny is he gets it now. This is what it took. That's what's funny. He gets it now. He says, I will not eat. But his servants together with the woman compelled him, and he hearkened unto their voice. So he arose from the earth and sat upon the bed. And the woman had a fat calf in the house, and she hasted and killed it, and took flour and kneaded it, and did bake unleavened bread thereof. And she brought it before Saul and before his servants, and they did eat. Then they rose up and went away that night. So folks, I wanna reenact what happens. Okay. So after King Saul has the witch of Endor bring up Samuel, Samuel's ghost once again rebukes and rejects Saul with the harshest and most devastating of rebukes. And the Bible says this is what Saul does. Saul says, oh God, just kill me now. Just kill me now. If Saul could have died at that very moment, had he had the power to just to send himself into cardiac arrest, he would have. But he don't. And so Saul, the king of Israel, sprawls out on the dirty floor in defeat because now he gets it. He finally really gets it. So the lady, she like, look, y'all don't understand. The king then just fell out on your living room floor. So the lady like, dog, come on, man. You got to get up. You can't, she like, you can't just lay here, you know what I mean? He done passed out on the floor, distressed, full of grief. She like, man, look, I did what you asked me to do. She like, man, come on, man, let me give you a little something to eat. I mean, this dude went limp noodle, then flopped and passed out. Look at the slides I've provided for you. Okay? This man then collapsed on this lady's floor. Okay? She like, dude, I did what you asked me to do, she said, at the risk of my own life. She said, now let me give you something to eat and feed you so you can have the strength to leave. And Saul says, I won't eat. God, look, man, I ain't laughing at Saul's predicament. Like I said, I'm laughing because this is what it took for him to finally get it. This is what it took, the extreme. And he says, I won't eat. Just kill me now. Saul just wants to die right now. Saul just wants to die right now, okay? Samuel's words was too heavy. It was a burden too heavy for him to bear. And he couldn't take it. He could not take it. And he just, after Samuel talks to him, he just wants to die. So they finally compel him to eat. And he eats. And he goes back home. And Saul knows he's going back home to the inevitable. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me for this episode, Son of a Preacher Man. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you have any comments, compliments, or insults, leave them in the comment section. I'll see you next time. Same soap time, same soap channel. We out.